Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back to the lecture series in Animal Physiology. So, we are into the fifth lecture, the last lecture of this series. So, today we will talk about the reproductive system. So, one of the interesting concepts about evolution and biology is that the success of a species depends on how many offsprings you have. It may sound very funny, but that is how success is being determined. That am I able to populate the population with my genes, and based on that, success of that species is being regulated. So, whenever we talk about reproductive system, we always say it is the currency of success of a species, because that's how we evaluate the reproductive system. So, in terms of human reproductive system, it is one heck of an intricate system to deal with. On one hand, we have the male reproductive system, we have the female reproductive system, and the male reproductive system, with your common sense, all of you know that it produces sperm, whereas the female reproductive system produces eggs, but that is not a continuous process. It has a cyclicity, it has a pattern, and in its lifetime, it has a finite number of eggs it can produce. Of course, whether there is a finite number of sperms, we cannot say with certainty, but definitely the number of sperms and the period a man can produce a sperm is higher than a female. So, with this background, we will start this journey, our last class, on the currency of success of a species, the reproductive system. Okay. So, moving on to the next slide from here. So, this is the basic anatomy we are talking about. You have the male reproductive system with the penis. Underneath you have the testes. There we have two testes out here. Look at it. The sac which is holding the testes called the scrotum. The urethra, which is part of the penis, which is involved in throwing away the or draining out the urine. You have the vas deferens, which is connected to the prostate gland here, and here you have the seminal vesicle. The seminal vesicle is involved in forming the fluid on which the sperms are being suspended. In the female reproductive organ, you have the vagina out here, which is giving passage to the penis, and then you have the cervix out here, uterus, you have the fallopian tube, and here you have the ovary. So, the ovary is the organ which is involved in the production of egg. With this basic anatomy, let me move on to the detailed structure of the testes. If you look at the testes, so this is the testicular structure. You have this called ductus epididymis, tubercular retici, tunica albuginea, tunica lobules. So, these are the lobules where most of the formation of the sperm taking place. Tunica vaginalis, seminiferous tubules, and tubercular recti, and ductus efferens, and this is called the retetestes. Okay. Now, these are the cells which are involved in the formation of the sperm. And one more thing, if I go back, take the liberty to go back to the first slide. So, the testes sperm which are produced are haploid, unlike other cells of the body, and these haploid cells making it 2n. which is deployed post fertilization. So it means these organs are producing haploid cells, which are your reproductive cells. Now coming back to the sperm production. So these are the spermatogonia, which are the master cells. So you have the Sertoli cell surrounded by it. They proliferate by mitosis. They form primary spermatocytes, goes through the first meiotic division. So meiosis happening. So it means first meiotic division. Then that form the secondary spermatocytes. You have the second meiotic division. And then you form the spermatids, and then comes one of the most beautiful differentiation process, which leads to the formation of sperm. And if you look at the structure of the sperm, it has the tip, which is called acrosome. It has the head. It has the midpiece, which is filled with mitochondria, because this is what gives it the energy to travel along the vagina to the ovary. It's quite a long travel for it, and here you have the nucleus. So it's a very peculiarly beautiful structure like this, and with lot of energy support coming from the mitochondria which is present there. So this is how the sperm formation takes place. This is the cell which is, so this is the whole cluster of the whole process of differentiation of sperm formation. Okay, so you have the Golgi apparatus, you have the acrosomal vesicles, the spermatid nucleus, you have the centrioles, then you have the microtubules, and from here comes out the tail of the sperm, and this excess cytoplasm eventually merges like this, which you can see here. It merges like this, and this is how the sperm looks like at the end, forming a tip-like structure, which is the acrosomal part, which is going back. So this is the acrosomal part, and this is the whole sperm formation cycle. Now from here, if you look at the male hormones which are involved in it, so pituitary hormone, which is secreting LH, luteinizing hormone, and follicle stimulating hormone, stimulate spermatogenesis and testosterone secretion by the testes. So hypothalamus, gonadotrophin releasing hormone, this is gonadotrophin releasing hormone. They hit upon anterior pituitary then tell testes. So anterior pituitary secretes follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. They went and act on the testes, and then the testes involved in the production of the sperm. Okay, and yet there are feedback loops. So testes hormone effect, testosterone and inhibit secretion of GnRH. So these are all the feedback loops which are going, telling it not to produce. So this is the negative feedback loop. Okay, now coming back to, okay, so this is what we talked about, the male hormone. Now coming back to the female reproductive system. So here you have the vagina, which is the entry part of it. Now on top of it, here you have the critical organ, which is your ovary. This is where the egg formation happening. So it seems a sperm has to travel through this whole passage all the way out here. And every time an egg is being formed here, this is being picked up by the fallopian tube, and it remains stored somewhere out here before that either that egg will get fertilized by an sperm, or this egg will be rejected from the female body every month once, or between 21 to 28 days, 21 to 28 days, depending on the cyclicity of the female, and it will be thrown out of the body. This egg will then thrown out, which essentially is the menstrual cycle, what we talked about. Okay. Now coming back to the formation of the egg. We talked about the sperm formation. Now let's talk about the egg. So this is the cross section of the ovary. So, and these are the blood vessels which are coming, that is fairly evident for you. Now if you look at it, so again, tube albuginea. So these are the primary follicles which are destined to form eggs. They form the oocytes, okay. Then they form the secondary follicles, and then they divide, and then they form a complex egg-like, and this is the ovulated oocytes. So this is the one which is being released every month. A female produces one at each ovary, one. So basically you have one complete egg formation taking place. Now the fate of the egg is either it will get fertilized by an sperm, or it will be discarded from the female body. And the hormones which are involved in this whole process, the developing follicle, if you look at it. So this is how it works. These are the developing follicles. They are maturing, and this is the time when they mature. And if you look at it, follicle stimulating hormone level is something like this, and this is where a peculiar rise just prior to, and this is the phase of ovulation. This is when the egg from the fallopian tube, from the ovary, is taken in the fallopian tube and gets stored here. This is the ovulation phase, and this is the phase when, if a woman has to conceive, she has to conceive during this phase. If she does not, and this is of course assuming that this is a 27-day cycle we are talking about. If she fails to conceive during this time, this egg eventually will be thrown out from the body, and again another menstrual cycle will happen, and that's how it is going to work. So this is the phase of the menstrual cycle, 1 to 4 days, followed 4 days. From here you start counting. So this is the phase when the egg is getting mature. So, and this 13 to 15, like a window of 24 to, I would say, 72 hours, or maybe 96 hours, 1 to 4 days, when this egg can be fertilized by an sperm, and if it is not fertilized, then it will be thrown out of the body. And this is the phase when a female is very receptive to receive a sperm, okay, mentally and physically. So this is how it looks like. These are the small developing follicles. This is the maturity phase I was telling you, okay. And if you look at the different, so this is the ovulation taking place, and this is the time when a fertilization can occur. In summary, if you look at it, understanding the ovulatory cycle, so there is something called a follicular phase, there is a ovulation, and there is a luteal phase, where the ruptured follicle convert into corpus luteum, which releases hormone that prepare the uterus for expected pregnancy. And if the fertilization happens at the ovulation phase, this is how the embryo embeds, and the menstrual cycle gets stopped till the process is over. So this is the fertilization. So this is how the egg is being released from the ovary, picked up by the fallopian tube, and it is stored here, and this is where the sperm moves through if it has to fertilize the egg. And if it fertilizes, then this is the whole development process again starts with a newborn growing out here, and after 9 months 15 days is ready for being released out from the body. So this is where after post fertilization the baby is kind of taking shape, and during this time there are secretions of these different enzymes, which I'll leave it for you guys to read. Human chorionic gonadotrophin and progesterone and estrogen, which ensure that there is no further menstrual cycle happening in female body. Journey of a woman, if you look at it, during the maintenance of the pregnancy, there is a progesterone level which gives the uterine quiescence. There is cervical rigidity brought about by progesterone. Estrogen, on the other hand, has a negative influence on it. So it is the progesterone which plays the maximum role. And during the labor, the mother's body releases oxytocin, which leads to uterine contraction, cervical ripening by relaxants, and estrogen now comes into play, cervical ripening, whereas progesterone at the time of labor does not have much role, except it has a negative role. So this is the crossplay of different kind of hormones which are involved in ensuring the childbirth. And this is the crosstalk, what we talked about, gestation and parturition, labor beginning parturition with the role of COX, and all other different kind of molecules which are involved in the process. And these are some of the oral contraceptives on which India has a lot of contribution. So you can read through some of these things. I'll leave it for you as an exercise to read through it. So now coming back to summarize this whole process of reproduction. So essentially it is, in the case of human, it is a very programmed event which is happening in the body of the female and both in the males, because this process does not start on the day one of your life. It starts at a particular time and it follows that clock thereafter, that and again it stops at a certain point of time. So there is stoppage in the case of female is called a menopause, and as a matter of fact, with age, the male's ability to produce quality sperm is also compromised. Okay, so what I will do, I will close in here, and in this whole process of the journey of physiology, we have tried to cover as much as we can, though it's never sufficient, because there are always rooms of lot of improvement. So I wish you all the best and good luck. Thank you.